Is Éderson the right signing for Manchester United? So, as you may or may not know, Manchester United have recently signed the midfielder Éderson from Atalanta for around 45 million euros, I think with add-ons, as Fabrizio Romano reported. Éderson is set to sign a 4-year deal until June 2030 with an option for a further year. Now, my first thoughts on this signing were that it's good that we got a deal done quickly, because Man United need to do a lot of business this summer, and it's absolutely fantastic that we were able to get one of the midfield signings in relatively quickly. Éderson, I think, is a decent midfield player, and if he were to just be part of our rotation, let's say, I think he could be a good player. But really, the praise for this deal ends just about there. Obviously, with any Manchester United player, I'm going to back them. I'm going to back them until it is illogical to do so. I mean, even going into this season, and even almost halfway through this season, I thought Manuel Ugarte could, still be a player for us. I mean, evidently that hasn't worked out, but I will back any player who signs for Manchester United until the bitter end, basically, until the bitter end. But my initial thoughts on this signing are I want to reserve judgment for it, which is ironic because I'm making a YouTube video about it, passing judgment. But the reason I want to reserve judgment on this signing is because we need a complete midfield overhaul. Currently, the only midfield player that we have that can reasonably play at a Premier League and Champions League level in that double pivot is Kobbie Mainoo. And we need 4 minimum. 2 to start and a backup for each position. And basically that means we need 3 midfielders. And Éderson being one of the 3 that we bring in, I'm okay with. I'm okay with that. We got him on a cheaper, it's not a cheap deal. Let's be completely honest, 45 million euros, 39 million pounds almost, is not a cheap deal. He's a 27-year-old who has never played, he's not going to the World Cup with Brazil. He wasn't selected. He's 27 years old, and he plays in Italy, who are known for having a really slow league. It does raise a few questions. I mean, I think Scott McTominay won Player of the Year in the Serie A last year, and he basically couldn't get a game in the Premier League. So is Éderson, if I'm thinking McTominay versus Éderson, is Éderson worse than McTominay? Where does that sort of factor in? But I don't mind Éderson as one of the 4 midfielders. I would mind it if Éderson is the 3rd best midfielder out of those 4. Ideally, I want Éderson to be the 4th best midfielder out of those 4. Mainoo, a starter, a reliable backup, and then Éderson is sort of the reserve. If Éderson is in that role, I'm completely okay with it. If Éderson is getting, regular playing time because he is one of our best midfielders, then, great. It means Éderson worked out. But ideally, I want, someone more like an Elliot Anderson, someone more like a Tonali, someone more like a Tchouaméni. Even maybe, an Alex Scott or somebody like that, or an Adam Wharton to sort of anchor that midfield rather than an Éderson, who I'm a bit sceptical about. Again, speed of the deal was fantastic. I like the contract being 4 years, not 5 years. 4 years with an option instead of 5 years with an option. And I like that, I get Éderson is, a bit of an all-rounder. There's not one thing that I think Éderson does insanely better than everyone else. I mean, if you look at Casemiro, his defensive ability and his aerial ability were some of the best in the world. I mean, he has been one of the best. I mean, he was one of the best midfielders in the Premier League in the air last year. And Casemiro's always been solid defensively. Éderson's not like that, where he's not out and out number 6, but he can get the job done. He can fill in gaps, and that's, I think, where this signing has to land. It has to be more of a break in case of emergency signing, rather than we are relying on this guy to get top 4 and to make a deep run in the Champions League. Because if we are, we're in for a bit of a shock, because that isn't going to happen with Éderson. And another red flag with Éderson that I figured was, if he was this much of a gem and he was this good, why weren't PSG, Bayern, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Arsenal, Chelsea, why weren't all these teams looking at him? Yeah, not too sure about that. I mean, Atletico Madrid almost got Éderson in the winter, this January, but they pulled out the deal, and then obviously Man United get him in the summer. But it's sort of concerning that all of these teams probably have scouted him, probably have looked at him and thought, let's go in another direction. But we'll see how that works, I guess. Overall, if I were to rate this signing out of 10, I'd rate it. I'd rate it a solid 6, where he's not the marquee signing. He's not, one of the big names you bring in, but is a decent signing, and I can see him definitely working out. I definitely think that Éderson has the potential of being a bit of a cult favourite. If you think back in the past to players like Ander Herrera, to a lesser extent, Anderson and Cleverley maybe, players like that, where they're not going to win you, the Premier League and the Champions League against Xavi, Iniesta, Modric, Kroos and Busquets and Casemiro and players like that. But they can get the job done. And if I were to summarise this signing, gets the job done. I think it's an overpay for a 27-year-old who never played in the Premier League, never played in the Premier League or La Liga, 1 year left on his contract. I think it's a bit of an overpay. But I will be excited to see him play, as I am with every single new signing. I mean, I was excited to see Dan James and Donny van der Beek and all those players play. But we'll see how this goes with Éderson. I genuinely think this could be one of the players to bring in to transform Man United's midfield. He has to be the third best midfielder we bring in this summer. If he is I'm going to repeat this right now. If Éderson is the second best midfield player that Manchester United sign this summer, I think it's going to be a difficult season for the club. This is because I just think there are at least 7 midfielders better than him. At least that Man United can realistic. Obviously, Man United aren't going to go for Rodri, aren't probably not going to go for Enzo Fernandez. But Elliot Anderson, Tonali, Tchouaméni, Adam Wharton, Mateus Fernandes, Alex Scott, Benjamin Stiller. I mean, that's 7 already, just off the top of my head. So we'll see. But I mean, Man United start the summer quick. I hope more deals can be done this summer at this sort of quick pace, because Man United not only need good signings and quality signings, they need a large volume of signings as well. Unlike last year, where we were playing more or less 1 game a week for the entire season, even less than that probably. We need to bring in a large amount of players just because of the games. I think we need 2 players in each position, but we'll get onto that in a different video where I explain what Man United need to do to really push themselves forward next season. All right, Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.